Hi guys, it's Tara Lowe here in the UK, and today it is day 2 of the vlogging challenge, and today is all about telling your story. And I watched Sheena's video about telling your story in 3 parts, and my story, I kind of never know where to begin with my story. There's kind of a lot to it, so I'm just going to begin it where I think my journey to empower began, because I think that's probably the most relevant. My story begins when my husband got sick. Prior to my husband getting sick, we had a really good life. My husband earned a lot of money. We had 3, 4, 5 holidays a year. I did work, but I didn't have to work. I worked because I wanted to rather than because I had to. And, you know, Christmas was good. Our children didn't want for anything. And then my husband got sick. Through bullying at work, he began to suffer with depression, anxiety, and he could no longer work. So he came off sick. And things got really tough really quickly, because when you have a large income and you live to your means, when your income drops drastically, which it does very quickly when you've got a lot of money coming in, your lifestyle changes really quickly. So that's when I started to look for something that I could do online. That was in 2007. And I found something online, and to be honest, it was a scam. I found many things online that were a scam. I found some things that weren't, and I learned a lot. Over the years before I found Empower, I learned lots of things about social media and internet marketing and direct mail and, you know, loads of different things before I found. But I'd never found anything that had made me any real money. So back to my story. Sorry about the interruption. So I was already doing internet marketing. My husband was sick. I had been diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis at the age of 28, so I was already struggling with arthritis. And then I hurt my back, and it got really bad really quickly, and I couldn't walk. It got to the point where I simply had to crawl around on my hands and knees, and it got so bad that an ambulance had to come and take me away to the hospital. The paramedics came, they dosed me up with morphine, put me on a stretcher and took me off to hospital. I had an operation on my spine a few days later, and that was the first surgery I ever had on my back. And it was great. The first surgery worked, and a couple of weeks later, bang, the disc had prolapsed again. So great for 2 weeks after the surgery, disc prolapsed again. It didn't go really, really bad immediately. It was painful, not as painful as it had been. I wasn't crawling around on my hands and knees, but it was painful. I couldn't walk again, but not to the point where I was crawling around on my hands and knees, but I couldn't walk. I had to go in a wheelchair. And that was my first stint in a wheelchair ever. I thought it was going to be temporary, and they said they did another MRI scan. They said, oh, the disc had prolapsed again. They would operate, but they wouldn't operate for a year because prolapsed discs can sometimes right themselves. They were hoping it would right itself. And all this time, I'm worrying about money. My debt is coming up over my head. Because obviously my husband's wages are not there, and it was just a mess, a big mess. And I'm trying to do internet marketing and nothing's working. Some big scams going on, and some of the little stuff was working, some of the bigger stuff, some of the more expensive stuff wasn't working, and we were just throwing good money after bad, and one thing and another. So then a year later I had the second surgery, and I knew straight away when I came out of surgery that there was something very, very wrong, because I woke up with the most excruciating pain down the left side, and they just couldn't get the pain under control. It was so painful, the worst pain I'd ever woke up in my life. And I was crying. I wanted my husband. I was in so much pain. I just couldn't cope with it. And the nurses were really concerned. They were trying to get the pain under control. They were pumping morphine into me till it was going out of fashion. And they couldn't get it under control. So when I saw the surgeon a couple of hours later, I was in intensive care in the wards, the neurosurgery wards, intensive care bit. The doctor came and he said, I tried to manipulate the nerve away from the scar tissue, and that's why the nerves hurt. They'll get better. It won't stay like that forever. But unfortunately, as we now know, it did stay like that forever. So the nerve damage is permanent, and that's sort of where we're at, really. And then after I recovered from the second surgery, the disc prolapsed for a third time, and it's now pressing on what is called the thecal sac, which is it is a bag at the bottom of the disc, bottom of the spine, which holds all the nerves at the bottom. And if it pushes too hard on that, it can paralyse me completely. So I have to be really careful how I move and what I do. No, sudden movements or whatever. So that's sort of where I'm at with my back, and that's why I'm in the wheelchair. And so all of this was going on all at the same time while I've been trying to get the debt under control. And obviously my husband still sick, and teenage children, and you know what teenagers can be like, giving loads of grief out. So it's been kind of hectic. But then I found Empower about 5 months ago in May, and it has been a revelation. I started with Empower in May, made my first money with Empower in September, and haven't really looked back. Came to my first event at the regional event in Orlando, which, as some of you may have already seen my story, it was amazing for me. So many breakthroughs, so many amazing things happened, and I'm just so glad I found Empower. So glad, because I now know I'm doing something that will work. It will impact on my future. I'm already making money. I'm already seeing changes in myself and my husband, and our future is looking very bright. So that's my story. It's a bit long, can cut it down a little bit. But you know, you can break it down and tell it in parts however you want. That's kind of how I got to Empower, because I was looking for something to replace the income that we lost when my husband lost, you know, when my husband couldn't work anymore. And as I say, I found a lot of stuff on the internet, nothing worked, and this does, so I'm very lucky to have found it. So, and that's my story. That's about the size of it, really. There's a lot more involved in terms of my medical conditions, my back and my psoriatic arthritis. There's so much more involved with the psoriatic arthritis, because it can affect the heart and the eyes and so many more things. But you know, that's a whole nother story. So you could be going on and on and on for ages. But yeah, that's my vlog for today. I'll tell you more about other stuff as the challenge goes on, hopefully. I'll speak to you again tomorrow, guys.